All right, so today we're diving into something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a Christian podcast episode all about guarding your heart against worldly temptations.
interesting.
Yeah, and before anyone clicks away thinking this isn't for them, just hear me out for a second.
Yeah.
Because it's actually full of some pretty relevant stuff, even if you're not religious at all.
Hmm.
I mean, have you ever felt like that pull between what you should be doing
Okay.
and what like the world is kind of dangling in front of you?
Oh, absolutely. Like a shiny distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's that classic tug of war we all experience, I think.
Oh,
And this episode just dives right into the heart of that struggle.
it really does. And they don't like hold back at all. They're talking like
Yeah.
complete unwavering devotion.
Wow.
And they even cite some pretty intense Bible verses
Really?
to emphasize how serious this whole guarding your heart thing is.
Like which verses?
Oh, they bring up James, Matthew, Exodus.
Oh, wow. The heavy hitters.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
Huh. What I find interesting is that this idea of complete devotion, it's often talked about in a religious context,
Right.
but I feel like it can apply to so many areas of life.
Oh, totally.
Like imagine applying that level of focus and commitment to, say, like a personal goal or even a relationship.
Yeah.
It's about giving something your all, holding nothing back.
Absolutely. Like I was reading James 4.4 to 5,
Yeah.
and it talks about this enmity with God thing,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
which sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
But if you like swap out the religious language, it's basically saying that half-hearted commitment, just doesn't cut it. It's like trying to build a house on a shaky foundation.
Yeah. It's not going to last.
It's just going to crumble.
Exactly. And that's where their 4 reasons for guarding your heart come in.
Okay.
They frame it in terms of your relationship with God.
Right.
But I think we can apply these to our most important relationships or even your relationship with yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Let's break those down.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first one is about protecting those relationships.
Yeah.
We all want those, strong, healthy connections.
For sure.
Right. Whether it's with a partner, family, friends, or even yourself.
Yeah.
Guarding your heart means setting boundaries and making choices that nurture those bonds.
It's about prioritizing those connections
Yeah,
and being mindful of anything that might threaten them.
for sure. And then there's this idea of staying strong against compromise.
Okay.
They talk about it in a religious context,
Right.
but you can easily apply that to personal values.
Absolutely.
We all have things we hold dear, things we just don't want to budge on.
Totally.
Maybe it's honesty, integrity, kindness, or something else.
Yeah.
But guarding your heart in this sense is about staying true to those values. Even when it's tough, even when the world is pressuring you to do otherwise.
It's about having the courage to stand up for what you believe in,
Yes.
even when it's unpopular.
And this leads right into their third point, which is about reaching your full potential.
Right.
They call it bearing spiritual fruit.
Right.
But in a broader sense, it's about personal growth, becoming the best version of yourself.
Striving for excellence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that ties in so beautifully with their fourth reason, which is about finding your purpose.
Sure.
They frame it as aligning with God's purpose.
Right.
But you can easily translate that into finding your own unique path in life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's about figuring out what you're passionate about, what you're good at,
Yeah.
and how you can use your talents to make a difference.
I like that.
And they actually include a prayer in this episode.
Okay.
Now, I know that might sound a little too churchy for some,
Sure.
but if you strip away the religious language,
Yeah.
it's really a beautiful expression of these desires,
Hmm.
the desire to resist negativity, to prioritize what truly matters, to stay true to yourself.
It's like a heartfelt plea for guidance and strength on this journey of personal growth and self-discovery.
It really is. Okay, so we've talked about why guarding your heart is important,
Yeah.
but how do you actually do it?
Right. That's the big question.
Well, the podcast offers some practical tips that honestly I think are super valuable,
Oh,
even if you're not religious.
yeah. I'm all about practical tips.
These two, they're like universal life hacks, really.
Oh, I like that.
So they start with this idea of setting daily intentions.
Oh, wow.
Now, instead of focusing on God,
Right.
think about setting a positive intention for your day. Maybe it's being more present with your loved ones,
Right.
or tackling a challenging task with a positive attitude, or simply spreading kindness wherever you go.
It's about starting each day with a clear purpose.
Yes.
A guiding principle that helps you navigate the ups and downs that inevitably come your way.
Exactly. And then there's this idea of limiting distractions, which,
Oh, yeah.
let's be real, is a constant battle for most of us.
Huh. Totally a constant barrage these days.
It's not just about putting down your phone or stepping away from the computer,
Yeah.
although that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware of those things that pull you away from your goals,
Mm-hmm.
from your values, from your true self, and consciously choosing to limit their influence.
It's about creating boundaries, both physical and mental,
Yes.
that protect your time, your energy, and your focus.
They also talk about spending time in scripture, but for those of us
Okay.
who aren't Bible readers, think about it as engaging with content that inspires and motivates you.
I like that.
Maybe it's reading books,
Yeah.
listening to podcasts.
Hopefully this one counts.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Or even just spending time in nature.
Right.
It's about feeding your mind and soul with things that uplift you.
Things that help you grow.
Exactly. And of course, they emphasize the importance of community.
Oh, for sure.
Now, you don't need to be part of a church group to experience the power of community. It's about surrounding yourself with supportive people who share your values
Yes.
and encourage you to be your best self.
It's like having your own personal cheer squad,
Exactly.
rooting for you every step of the way.
And I think, in a way, that's what this whole guarding your heart thing is all about. It's about creating a space where you can thrive, where you can be your most authentic self.
And that's something that transcends any specific belief system. It's a
Absolutely.
universal human need.
Okay, and last but not least, they talk about the power of gratitude.
Gratitude, okay.
Now, I have to admit, I used to kind of roll my eyes at this one.
Really?
Yeah, it felt so cheesy, so self-helpy.
Though, I know what you mean.
But there's something so powerful about intentionally shifting your focus
Yeah.
to what you're grateful for.
It's like a mental reset button.
It really is. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, what's wrong,
Yeah.
you're deliberately choosing to appreciate what you have.
It's like training your brain to see the good, even in the midst of challenges. And that, I think, is a huge part of this whole guarding your heart philosophy.
Totally.
It's about protecting yourself from negativity, from cynicism,
Yeah.
from that constant feeling of lack.
It's about choosing to focus on the abundance that already exists in your life.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting how the podcast frames all of these practices as ways to strengthen your relationship with God.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, there are also ways to strengthen your relationship with yourself,
That's such a good point.
isn't it?
Yeah. By setting intentions, limiting distractions, engaging in meaningful activities, connecting with supportive people, and practicing gratitude,
Yeah.
you're essentially nurturing your own inner world.
You're creating that space for yourself to flourish, to tap into your full potential, to live a life that feels aligned with your deepest values.
That's like building a sanctuary for your mind and soul,
I love that.
a place where you can find peace, clarity, and strength no matter what's going on around you.
And that, I think, is something that resonates with everyone, whether you're spiritual or not.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership of your inner landscape and creating an environment where you can truly thrive.
I completely agree.
It's like we stumbled onto this treasure map
Yeah.
for a more fulfilling life hidden within this, seemingly niche podcast episode.
I know, right? And you know what else struck me?
What's that?
The podcast really drives home this point that guarding your heart or your mind isn't some passive thing
Yeah.
that just happens.
Right.
It's an active process, like a muscle you have to work out.
Absolutely. It takes conscious effort, making daily choices about what you let in, what you focus on.
Totally.
Like they say, garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, yeah.
But it works the other way too, right?
Exactly. It's like building that mental fortress we were talking about.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just leave the gates wide open, would you?
No way. And the tools they give you to build this fortress are surprisingly practical. Even if you strip away the whole religious angle, like setting daily intentions,
Yeah.
it sounds so simple. But how often do we actually take a few minutes to get clear on our priorities for the day?
It's so easy to just get swept up in the whirlwind.
I know, right?
But taking those few minutes to be intentional, to really focus on what matters,
Yeah.
can make such a huge difference.
It's like setting your internal compass for the day.
Exactly. And then there's this whole battle with distractions. It's like a constant barrage these days.
Ugh, tell me about it.
Right.
But, the podcast reminds us that we actually have a lot more control over our mental space than we think.
That's a good point.
We can choose to curate our information intake, set boundaries with technology, and create environments that support our goals.
It's about being the gatekeeper of your own mind.
Oh, I love that.
And even though they talk about spending time in scripture,
Yeah.
I think the underlying principle is applicable to anything that nourishes your soul, inspires you, helps you connect with something bigger than yourself.
For sure, totally.
It could be reading books,
Yeah.
listening to music, spending time in nature, getting lost in a creative project.
Absolutely.
It's about finding those activities that bring you back to yourself, that recharge your batteries.
It's about feeding your spirit, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, there's the power of community.
Oh, yeah. We all need those people
We do.
who get us, who support us, who challenge us to be better.
It's like having your own personal cheer squad
Exactly.
rooting for you every step of the way. And I think in a way,
Yeah.
that's what this whole guarding your heart thing is all about.
How so?
It's about creating a space where you can thrive, where you can be your most authentic self.
And that's something that transcends any specific belief system.
Total.
It's a universal human need.
Okay, now for the grand finale, the practice of gratitude.
Okay, gratitude. I have to admit, I used to roll my eyes at this one.
Really?
It felt so cheesy,
Oh, yeah.
so self-helpy.
I know what you mean.
But
Yeah.
there's something so powerful about intentionally shifting your focus, what you're grateful for.
It's like a mental reset button, isn't it?
It really is. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, what's wrong,
Totally.
you're deliberately choosing to appreciate what you have.
It's like training your brain to see the good, even in the midst of challenges.
Yes, exactly. And that, I think, is a huge part of this whole guarding your heart philosophy.
Absolutely.
It's about protecting yourself from negativity, from cynicism, from that constant feeling of lack.
It's about choosing to focus on the abundance that already exists in your life. It's interesting how the podcast frames all of these practices as ways to strengthen your relationship with God.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they're also ways to strengthen your relationship with yourself.
That's such a great point.
Right?
By setting intentions, limiting distractions, engaging in meaningful activities, connecting with supportive people, and practicing gratitude, you're essentially nurturing your own inner world.
You're creating that space for yourself to flourish, to tap into your full potential, to live a life that feels aligned with your deepest values. And that, I think, is something that resonates with everyone.
Absolutely, regardless of their spiritual beliefs or lack thereof.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your inner landscape and creating an environment where you can truly thrive.
Yeah.
It's funny how we started this deep dive thinking we'd be talking about, resisting temptation from a strictly religious perspective.
Right.
And we've ended up having this incredibly rich conversation about, personal growth and self-care.
I know. It's amazing how these things kind of evolve.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that wisdom can pop up in the most unexpected places.
Totally. Sometimes you got to dig a little deeper to find those golden nuggets,
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's so cool about this whole guarding your heart thing is that
Yeah.
you don't have to subscribe to any particular belief system
Right.
to find value in these ideas.
Exactly. These principles like setting intentions, being mindful, nurturing your relationships, appreciating the present moment, they're
Yeah.
universal.
They really are.
They go beyond any one religion or philosophy.
It's like they're tapping into something fundamental about the human experience.
Absolutely. We all have this innate desire, I think, to live a life of purpose and meaning, to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves.
And this podcast episode, in its own way, offers a roadmap for how to do that.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all prescription, of course.
Right.
It's more like a set of guiding principles
Yeah.
that you can adapt and apply to your own unique journey.
And it all circles back to that central idea of guarding your heart, being intentional about what you allow into your inner world.
It's about recognizing that you have a choice in how you experience the world and that you have the power to create a more fulfilling and meaningful existence.
So whether you're a devout believer or a skeptic, a spiritual seeker, or a pragmatist,
Yeah.
there's something in this episode for you.
It's a reminder that we're all in this together, navigating the complexities of life and trying to make sense of it all.
And that by taking the time to reflect, to connect, to appreciate, we can find moments of peace and clarity amidst the chaos.
We can create a life that feels aligned with our deepest values and aspirations.
Which at the end of the day is what we all want, isn't it?
Yeah.
To live a life that feels true and meaningful.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what's one takeaway that you'll carry with you? What will you do differently to guard your heart, mind, and spirit going forward? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep diving deep.